Oh. Alright, so I'm going to rehydrate my mushrooms here. And then I'm going to put up my patty pan and get going. So, hot water, of course. Enough to cover. Doesn't really matter what size bowl you got, but enough to cover the mushrooms. Water. And then just push them down in there. You could even cover it with a plate or something, but it should be fine. And like I've said before, you could use, you don't need to use boiling water. You can use cold water. If you didn't have, like you're out camping or something, you didn't have boiling water, you could just rehydrate them with cold water. But then again, I guess if you're camping, you might, using the ramen or something, so I need to boil it anyway. So, all right. So I've got my mushrooms going. And I've got these patty pan squash, really cute looking, and we can do them. I'm just going to cut these up, but something you can do that's really cool: cut the bottom off, cut the top off, and that way you can keep this cool shape here. Just cut it straight down, and you could do like stuffed. You can scoop this out a little bit, or actually it's pretty thin right now, so we wouldn't really need to. And we could do stuffed squash. So make a stuffing. So like saute some mushrooms, some onions, breadcrumbs, an egg to bind it, and just put it over the top. Maybe saute these just for a little bit to soften them up, and then you throw them in the oven, maybe a little butter or oil over the top, and they'd be great. Just cook them till the stuffing is nice and golden brown. They'd be fabulous. So, actually, one more thing, you want to take a little salt and pepper and just do that before you stuff them. Just salt them, and again, saute them, or even stick them in the oven first to soften them up before you put the stuffing over the top. But for this, we're actually just gonna chop these up, dice them, and we're gonna do a cream sauce with our portobello mushrooms. So I'll be right back with you in a little bit. So I'm just gonna dice these up. Kind of a bigger dice because it's gonna be our little side dish with the cream sauce, and the cream sauce is going to be with my portobello mushrooms. Side. Cutting them this way first. Making our little grid pattern. This way, then that way, then the other way. And you see what I'm doing with my hand? I'm cutting against the knife so that I know where the knife is. I'm able to hold on to my food this way and cut my fingers, and actually be able to cut stuff a lot faster when you get going. You can just chop, chop, chop without even potentially even looking at it. Get my pan going, and actually start my onions first. Cut the end off your onion, both ends. A little strip up the side. Easy to peel. And set that aside. Clean off our cutting board. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna, now typically I would cut it this way a couple of times and then cut it this way and then cut it that way, but my friend Pat, who you've probably heard of before, he got really upset with me when I started showing it that way, because I originally showed him years ago how the layers of your onions go like that. So there's really no reason to cut it this way, because if you just cut it along the circumference, so if you cut it like following the curve, then you already have your one direction of dice going. So I'm just going to cut it and change my angle of my knife as I go. Makes it even easier if you turn it around too and start the other side. And then I only have two directions to cut, because of the natural layers of the onion. There you go. Already diced. So I'm gonna just leave that there for now. And get my pan going. Oil in my pan. Actually, just going to put some of these onions in with the patty pan, and then some of these I'm going to just really mince up, actually pretty small, to put in our sauce. And so to mince them up small, doing it the way I was showing you with the layers, you would just put your cuts closer together. I'm using an induction stove here. Really works pretty fast. Just cranks right up immediately. You need to use a stainless steel pan for these, or some kind of steel bottom pan. And let me just get these here. Clean off my cutting board. Got some vinegar and water here. Spray it down and wipe it right off. See how fast this is going. Clean. Okay, we're ready to go again. Okay, I'm going to throw my patty pan in here. Sauteing, a little salt and pepper. I always mix mine together. So I got coarse ground pepper. If you try to mix this with like regular table salt, it won't mix. So I've got kosher salt here, and kosher salt's a better product anyway. So I like to have it mixed in the ratio that I typically use. And I've got my garlic and olive oil, as you always see me do. cover the oil, cover the garlic with oil, and it just doesn't spoil. You can keep it in your fridge for quite a long time. I like a good amount of garlic in here. Now I see a rogue piece of patty pan. Start my sauce as well. Take my mushrooms out of the liquid here. Of course, look at that liquid there. Beautiful. Look at the color of that. I'm going to save that for our sauce. So they've been hydrating for probably not even 15 minutes, but I am going to recook them in. They're going to be cooking down in the sauce anyway. But anyway, 15 minutes typically. 10 minutes is long enough. Set my broth aside. Chop my mushrooms up. Just pretty much rough cut them. Both directions here. These guys here. Yeah, where I'm at, I just don't have the electricity for both pans to be going at once, so you gotta kind of coordinate here. So I've got this one going now. Let me get a little bit of oil in the pan, but I don't want too much because I don't want my sauce to break. And I want to get a little bit so I can still saute my onions and mushrooms before I add my wine and then heavy cream. Let the onions go for a minute. Just going to get a little bit of soften them up a little. Add my mushrooms to this. Clean off my cutting board. And I realize I'm using the wrong side. Slide stuff off all those grooves there. Good. Also going to get a little bit more like saute on this, just to get more kind of flavor on my mushrooms. Always season it as you go. A little more salt and pepper on there. I'm not really trying to caramelize them, but I'm trying to, get some flavor and just a little bit of color on it. Incorporate them with our onions. Is my light blinking? Or is it steady?
It's green and then pink.
Weird. How about now? Am I done with the pink?
Now it's like an orangey pink.
Alright, sorry, trying to get my sound going right. Alright, so I'm going to put white wine in here now. Good amount of white wine. And I'm reducing this down. great to have a nice stove that will really, so I use that much wine in this. I want to reduce it down and really get that wine flavor. And you do want to reduce it down most of the way because, for one, you're cooking off the alcohol. But alcohol in your food doesn't, unless you're making like rum balls or something like that, alcohol is not very great. So you're cooking off the alcohol, and I'm also cooking it down so that it doesn't break my sauce when I add the cream, because it's acidic. So, my heavy cream here.
Your mic is blue and pink.
Blue and pink. Not sure if I'm getting reverb. So with heavy cream, you always want to shake it up your bottle. It's pretty hard when it's completely full, but after you pour a little bit out, shake your bottle because the fat, like the milk fat or whatever, it'll stick to the sides. So you want to shake it up to incorporate it into your cream. So see, this is reducing down nicely, and the smell is really, really nice. So a lot of times I'll use shallots instead of onions. Just didn't have any shallots available, and I could have added garlic before, but I'm just going to touch garlic. Should have really added it when I was sautéing my stuff, but this will be fine. And actually, me sautéing it like that, tossing it with these stoves, the heat disappears immediately, so it's better to actually stir it because it turns off as soon as you take it off the burner. And that just defeats the purpose. So see how that's almost reduced down. There's just a little bit of liquid left. And so the using dried mushrooms is, again, for something like this, is way better because I'd have to be dealing with the liquid from the mushrooms leaching out their liquid also, whereas you don't really have that situation when you use dried mushrooms. You can, they can saute and caramelize really fast once you rehydrate them. So all this liquid is nothing to do with the actual mushrooms, it's all the wine just reducing down. But you'd have to reduce it a lot longer if you use fresh mushrooms. And also, fresh mushrooms for something like this, you just don't have the same flavor. Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. So shake it up a little bit, and like I said, there's no real room to shake it, so pour some of this in. Now I've got and that incorporates all the, at first when you open this, I actually should have showed you, but there's you can see the fat, collecting around at the top. Sort of separates. Look how much actual thicker you saw it before. And so this sauce, there is no thickener to be used. So in other words, I don't use cornstarch or flour or anything or arrowroot. I'm just using heavy cream and reducing it down. That will thicken itself once you reduce it down. So let's take a couple of minutes to reduce. Maybe get a quick shot of this, and we'll be back with you in a minute.
Okay.
All right, so got this reducing down. You want to be able to, you want to scrape the bottom just a little bit. I use a flat tool here, and just to make sure it's not sticking or burning on the bottom, especially because we have it on high heat. And that's getting pretty close. See how thick that's getting? You can tell by the bubbles. You could also tell by how it coats a spoon. See that? That's coating. That's pretty nice. And I've got heavy cream in here. Well, white wine. Let me start at the beginning. Some onions, portabella mushrooms, which I rehydrated. We have dried mushrooms over here. And so I started the onions, put in the mushrooms, and then reduced some white wine, and like a good amount of white wine, and then I added heavy cream, and it's reducing down, and it's pretty much almost done. And we're going to serve it over these patty pan squash over here, and we'll have samples any minute here.
Okay. That stuff I had the other day was really good.
Oh, great. What did you have?
I have no idea, whatever you cooked.
Oh, okay.
I think I like somebody else's cooking.
Thanks. All right, so this is doing pretty good. I'm just going to turn this one off and get this one back on. Turn it up all the way. And yeah, that's a nice consistency already. And I think I'm going to turn it back over to Linda. I want to make sure that my patty pan is soft at least. And then, even get a little caramelization on it, a little bit of color. And I know my sauce is ready. See that? See the brown on the bottom? Oh, and actually, I might reduce this down just a little bit more, because I want to add in my broth. Really get that mushroom flavor. So I'm just deglazing the bottom. That got a little brown here. I'm gonna have to turn this one back on again in a minute. Yeah, these are doing good. So in here again, I've got onions, some patty pan squash, some garlic, salt and pepper. You could add, I like putting wine in pretty much everything. And you can see I've got all my different wines. I've got white wine here. I've got some sherry. I've got Madeira, and I've got Marsala. So, a little bit of white wine. I'm steaming this kind of, so I can even add a little bit of juice from my mushrooms in here too, because I might as well be using, anytime I might use water, if I'm using wine that's great for flavor, but anytime I might use water to like soften these up or anything, might as well use the broth that you're cooking with, because it has so much more umami flavor instead of just plain water. You've got built-in broth. What was the thing about mushrooms? Are when you make the broth, it's nature's bouillon cube. So, reduce this down a little bit. I don't want too much water in here. I don't want too much liquid at all in here, because when I add the sauce to this, it'll thin it right out. So I really added the broth so that I can soften up the squash. Since we got some pretty, decent sized pieces in here. Kill this one, go back to our sauce and reduce this down now so we can get rolling with some samples. When you're reducing stuff, you really want to get the sides, because the sides will also, that's where it really thickens quite a bit. So scrape down those sides. It won't take long to reduce this again with this induction stove. And yeah, we'll be back with you in just a second. All right, got my squash is pretty much all the liquids out of here. You can see there's some decent color. It really smells good.
Oh.
I'm going to try my sauce real quick to make sure. Perfect. Make sure I got enough salt and pepper. So that's it. I'm just going to take sauce now. Go right into my pan. And all of that good sauce. Mix this around. This is ready to go.